All right. Happy Friday. What a week it has been. By the way, we're still in January. This is only the first month of 2026.
Wow.
But let me tell you something. Not only was it an unbelievable week in world news, but within the Huddle family, the last 24 hours have been remarkable. Let's start first with the great Rachael Bade. For those who were not paying attention yesterday, somebody literally moved world markets. That is not easy to do if you're not named Donald Trump. But bring it up, please, Kevin. For those who are not subscribed to RachelBade.com, and that's Rachel AE, for those who don't know, you need to do it now, because if you're in the markets or you like to wager $1 or $2, somebody, bring up the next element, please, literally moved the markets all over the world. Rachel, how does it feel to be to move markets? How was your Thursday evening?
It was chaotic, to say the least. I mean, I had just finished making a very gourmet dinner for my toddler, grilled cheese, strawberries, and avocados, when I got this tip that the president had offered the job to Warsh. And I was like, shit, oh my gosh. Told my husband, you're in charge. You're in charge of everything the rest of the night. Yep. And then within an hour, I had sort of confirmed it, but sort of with a caveat there. Yep. I was told that it was not official, that the president could change his mind, and got a little bit of more color that Warsh had been at the White House yesterday to meet with him. So, and then the president said something on the way to the Melania viewing. He said, I'm going to pick a guy who could have had the job a few years ago. The only person who was on his short list during his first term is Kevin Warsh. So it was basically a confirmation, and a bunch of the legacy media and mainstream media ended up following my scoop a couple hours later.
And, you know, as is always the case, we love everybody here, but some people questioned what Rachel was saying, but no, she was right. So that was Rachel's Thursday night. And as if that wasn't big enough, moving world markets, the only thing bigger would be a Trump extravaganza in Washington, D.C. And of course, our very own Sean Spicer, who dabbles in the entertainment world. Sean, how was the world premiere of Melania last night?
You know what? Rachel may have gotten a scoop, but I got a cookie.
I like it. There you go. That is
a Melania
nice.
cookie. We got a Melania cookie. You know me. I love swag. So I'm doing great this week. I got a Trump account cup and a Melania cookie and a book and some stuff. It was really well done. The folks at the Kennedy Center did a really fantastic job. Amazon folks, we were talking yesterday, Dan. I got a chance to chat with a few of them, and we were joking about the conversation because some of them were talking about the huddle. I'm watching it, and I said, well, then I'm sure you saw our conversation. My colleague Dan is very impressed with how much money you're spending on this premiere. And anyway, so it was but you know, again, I go back to sometimes just staff mode. Logistically, it went well. The movie itself, it was great. When the first lady came down to open the movie, she was apparently it was simulcast to 50 cities, and she welcomed in every city.
Oh, cool.
Nashville, welcome in, and then there was an international crowd as well. She's like, oh, do I have the folks from London? And it was,
that's amazing.
It was well produced. If you've never, regardless of your political stripes, if you wanted some insight into how this all works, how the soup is made, go check it out. It's a great movie. And I even thought some stuff was insightful, having gone through at a very high level an inauguration. So it's cool. Check it out.
All right, so just two quick questions. Best outfit you saw went to
Roger Stone.
I didn't see Roger.
Okay.
You know what, Dan? I will say this. This is, and I'll leave it at this. I was actually surprised at the attire. We talked about it. It was business attire, very appropriate. I mean, the women were. I don't know. I actually thought that we would see some kind of outlandish. Very, very respect. I mean, again, I don't mean why I'm shocked.
Okay.
But I was intrigued going in. What with it? I'll be honest. The guys, some of the jackets that the guys were wearing were outlandish. So I think for the first time in my life, I'd say that there was probably more flair in men's fashion than women's. Women, very appropriate, very stylish, but nothing that jumped out and you went wow, who is she wearing? Some of the guys, I was like, what are you wearing?
My real question for you, Sean, is: are you going to eat the cookie, or are you going to like save it and let it grow mold?
Oh, I won't save it. But you know what? I'm not. But so this is one of those cookies that like I love a good frost, like the frosting.
Yeah.
This is one of those decorative. It's like you get at a wedding.
Yep.
If I were hungry enough on a Friday night, I could see eating this, but I have 2 kids. I don't think it'll make it past noon.
All right, and just one other quick question, because this was, we know your propensity for going to bed early. Did you go to a after party or after parties or go home?
All right, I'm going to confess, and I know some people watch this, but I'll just be honest. So I was with a buddy of mine, and he had made a film, and so the credits start rolling, and I go, "We're out." He goes, "You can't." No, he goes, "Absolutely not. That is the rudest thing as a filmmaker to do." Yep. And I'm like, "Well, with all due respect, the president and the first lady and Brett Ratner are like, they can't see us." And he goes, "That you cannot do that to a filmmaker at a premiere." And I'm like, "Dude, did you see security?" It was like getting there last night. Our Uber half a mile out, I watched the tablet in his thing, and he's got the route. And I go, "We're getting out and we're walking." We walked a half mile in the snow because I was like, it'll take us an hour.
DC is terrible with
no sidewalk. So last night, with all due respect, again, I stayed to the very end. Credits were about, I'm guessing, halfway through. And I was like, we're moving. It's 11 o'clock. We're an hour past my bedtime, and I need an Uber home. And so I knew the security route out, like meaning where the barrier was. And I'm like, beelined it, got on the other side, hit the Uber button. 7 minutes later, boom.
All right. Okay. The party's here this morning. All right. With that, my job is done. Turning it over to Rachel.
Just a quick note before we jump in, guys, that for our premium subscription members, right after the show, you'll be able to talk to me. I'm going to be the one taking questions today. If you're not.
So if you did not get chosen for the Fed, you want to know why?
If you're not a member, guys, you can sign up for $10 a month, $100 a year, get a little extra time with Sean, Dan, and myself, one of us, and once a month, all 3 of us.
Yeah, all 3 of us are next week. Yeah, that's right.
To ask more questions. So please take a look at that. Okay, today we're going to obviously talk about why Warsh, why now? We're going to talk about the president's deal with Schumer to avert a government shutdown, and can it hold? We'll talk about Shapiro's media tour, success or failure. The IRS IOU, Trump sues the tax agency over the leak of his tax returns from a few years ago. We'll discuss our winners and losers. Some people in the chat are suggesting that Don Lemon just got arrested. I'm trying to figure out if this. One of you guys look at your phone, see if that's true, because if that's the case, we should talk about that a little bit too. But real quick, we'll go through the daybook. 10 a.m. The president's lawsuit against pollster Ann Seltzer begins in Iowa State Court. How's that? Is that going to get thrown out, do we think, right away? Or will they actually entertain this?
I think it's going to get thrown out, but you never know. And I've said this before. I feel bad for Ann. She's not a partisan, hack. But
just a reminder for people. Look. She had put out a poll a few days before the election showing that Kamala was going to win, right? And everybody sort of took it as the word of God. Turns out not the case. But pollsters get shit wrong all the time.
No. But listen, I'm sorry. I don't know, Ann. Maybe I've met her. I mean, whatever. Here's the deal. If there is, what was that poll? Plus 15 for Biden or something in Iowa?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Guys, look, here's the deal. When you walk into something and someone says, "Hey, can I give you this brand new car for $1?" Do you go, "God, that's the greatest deal"? Or do you go, "God, that's a little weird. That's odd"? And all I'll say is this, is that like, if you're a respected pollster and you don't think that number is a little off considering your past polls, current political makeup, whatever, then you have a problem. And
Sean, she is considered the gold standard.
No, Dan, hold on. Your side.
Hold on. She nailed almost every race in Iowa in the last 20 years.
It's not true. It's not true. It's not. Sean, go back and look at her record.
True, Sean.
That is 100% true.
There's a lot of bad polling out there.
She nailed Obama. She nailed Obama Clinton within a decimal when no one else would. So hold on. In 2022, the number of Republican pollsters that had you guys winning major races overwhelmingly was more than I can count. If we could sue every Republican pollster who is dead wrong.
Way to just change the subject, Ann. You said if we could. So the question on the table is she a respectable pollster? Not
100%. Maybe the most in the world.
My question was: is it justified to sue someone?
No, of course not. That's the whole point.
We got to move on this. We got to move on. We got a lot to get to.
Will, but I will just say this: I don't know what the. Here, I'll make this quick. I don't know what the legality is, but you guys brought it up. But I do think that for all the talk about election interference, when you do stuff like that and move markets and make every TV station in America wake up and go, the race is a lot closer than we thought, then I would call that election interference. I don't know. Okay,
Sean, I'm just going to say this. You must be really tired. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. And I mean that genuinely.
Okay. We are Feisty Friday today. So, let's, I'm trying to think. Should we? I guess
we have to do the sponsor.
Should we go? Oh yes, sponsor, of course. Cozy Earth. How can I forget? I literally have the bubble cuddle blanket on today, guys. It's warm. It's soft. It's heavy. It's everything you need when you have, half a foot of snow covering the ground outside, like we do right now. I'm excited to take a nap with this thing over the weekend. But you should also look at their pajamas because they were sold out over the holidays, completely sold out. And now they're actually doing a promotion before Valentine's Day. You can get buy one, get one. Sale runs January 25th through the 8th of February. Go to cozyearth.com and use my code HUDDLE, BOGO, HUDDLEBOGO, for PJs for someone special and yourself. Thank you to Cozy Earth. Okay, I'm torn between going back to Warsh, or should we just jump into Don Lemon here? Maybe let's talk Lemon as part of the Shutdown Minnesota stuff in the second segment. Let's keep it there. But okay, so Warsh is the guy. Okay, let's put up the president's Truth Social post from this morning. He was up early, truthing, and announces that Warsh is going to be his guy. Warsh became, one of the youngest members of the Federal Reserve Board when he was 35. He worked at Morgan Stanley, Wall Street veteran, worked for George W. Bush. And here's the president saying he's going to go down in history as one of the greatest Fed chair picks. Sean, what do we know about why the president picked him? I know you were thinking it was going to be Kevin Hassett for a while. What do you think happened?
Not only for a while, but as of the last 48 hours, people that I knew were saying that the president, quote, had circled back to Hassett. My guess, the untold story, and we'll see what happens in the next 24, 48 hours as details kind of emerge on this, is I think this is a big coup for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Yep.
He's close ally.
Close ally, very clearly he didn't want Hassett. And so I think that Bessent had a great week we talked about and spent a lot of time with Trump. And we had heard reports that he was getting his folks back into the Oval Office. So this has been a concerted campaign by Bessent. And I think you got to give him credit, at least from the standpoint of it really shows that he has the president's ear.
Two other things. He did his homework, and there were the family connections we were talking about before the show. There is some reporting that he had this aggressive campaign for the job. His allies made these opposition files against the other candidates for this position, with Rick Ryder in particular, showing people in the White House that he used to donate to Democrats, to Paul Ryan, Nikki Haley, not exactly Republicans the president likes. And then he had Larry Kudlow also in his corner, talking about these things on television. And then there's also the family piece, because he's married to, or this, I should say, his billionaire father-in-law went to college with the president at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. He was close to him. And then this guy's grandfather-in-law is Estee Lauder, as in the makeup tycoon. There's even a Trump-branded Estee Lauder cologne from the early 2000s, I guess, as well. So these are close family connections, which obviously always helps you in Trump world. Dan, some people are saying that the markets might not react well to this. What's your thought on this?
No, I think the market. Yeah, I think that the markets will take this as good as they could hope for, given that Trump wants to own the person. I think Bessent played it right in that Hassett people would have seen as a puppet, not as a truly independent person, that it's just a lapdog. And I think, look, Bessent's now 2-0. He defeated Howard Lutnick and he got his Fed chair. That's pretty good batting average in the Trump world. But I also think, as you say, you can't underestimate the fact that Warsh comes from a wealthy family that traffics in the Upper East Side and Palm Beach. They run in the same social circles. He had a war chest at his disposal to hire public affairs people and others to kind of counsel and run a campaign in the shadows. Clearly, it was effective. So, now we're going to see. The economy is bumpy. Do you cut? Do you not? Like, we're going to see, not just what they do, but can they sell it to the global markets? Is it seen as an independent and smart move for the global, for the U.S. economy, or is it seen as doing Trump's political bidding? Time will tell.
Did you say that he had a Warsh chest?
Oh, Sean's back. All right.
Here's the question. Go ahead, Sean.
So here's the thing that's interesting to me, because Dan just teed this up. Like, what's going to happen next? We know what the president wants. The Fed yesterday refusing to cut rates. There's an old saying in politics that it's easy to campaign, it's harder to govern, right? Yeah. So, and so he clearly did a great job getting the job. That's the campaign. I was there in the first term when President Trump picked Chris Wray at the FBI and picked Jerome Powell for the Fed. And I will tell you that there are a couple other positions in government that I won't go into when I've had conversations with the president, and he says, if you talk to Dan, remind him he gave me, and he'll fill in the lane. Like, he'll never forget who recommended someone to him for a position, especially if they turn sour. And you can think of a few of those people that come to mind. And so Bessett won the day.
Yeah.
But call me in a year and say, how are we doing on interest rates?
Sean, what makes you think that he might not do what the president wants him to do on interest rates?
He's smart.
Because you get into the job and you go, okay, now, like, the president still, I don't know, what does he want? Another half a point or something? I mean, like, how much bone? Like, there's not much fat left on that bone. And so what happens when you now own this and you can only do so much, plus your one vote, that you have a board of governors. I mean, like, I'm just saying, it's, again, goes back to the saying, it's a lot easier to campaign than govern. And now Warsh has to come, deliver.
And I think one of the other things is why they did it today. Like, I think this cannot, in my judgment, is not a coincidence. He has had a rough week. We're going to get to topic number 2, which is it's still a rough week for Trump. The Fed did not cut the interest rates as he's been, pounding. And I think we all agree the economy is not bad. The economy is not great. And Trump, that's not a good position considering his political standing is going down. This is something new. We're all talking about it. And it kind of creates a sense of optimism of we're about to turn the page. And
final question before we move on. Powell still has 3 to 4 months left in his term.
Till May.
As chair till May, and then as governor till January of 2027.
As chair. Correct, as chair. Does he step down as chair sooner?
No. 100% no.
Okay.
Also, I will just say this, and we can put a pin in this and discuss it later because we'll have plenty of time. One of the things that had come up in the last 72 hours about Hassett was, quote, he can't get confirmed. Tillis, Murkowski, Collins. And I said, well, why is that any different than any other nominee? Tillis is going to play a big role because that committee doesn't have any margin of error. So you lose Tillis, it's a push. Thune could still bring it to the floor, which I think he would. But the bottom line is that, like, these people who had concerns, specifically the 3 I mentioned, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Yep. Because every reporter is now going to go to Collins and Murkowski and Tillis today and say, okay, Warsh is the guy. Are you going to support him? Or it's not even support him, fill in the blank name. Are you going to allow a vote to come forward? Because they have said if President Trump doesn't take away the threat of firing Powell, they won't allow a nominee to move forward.
And watch Mitch McConnell. Yep.
Okay, let's move to Shutdown latest / Minnesota / Don Lemon, apparently. But before we get to Lemon, just a sort of a little bit of background about what happened yesterday. The president and Senate Democrats, they made this deal to avert a shutdown, or I guess it would be a short shutdown, but basically buy themselves 2 more weeks to cut a deal on DHS spending. So they're going to strip that bill from the rest of the appropriations legislation, keep the government open otherwise, and then come up with the deal in the next 2 weeks. Here's the president's truth saying that he's hoping there's going to be bipartisan support for this. This is I don't know what element this is anymore. Is it element 3 or 4? Anyway, yes, right, hoping there's bipartisan support for this deal. But the question right now is whether this deal is going to hold, and not just because Lindsey Graham sort of, upended everything last night by delaying a procedural vote on this for his own, parochial issues. The bigger question is, you got House Republicans who are having a problem with this. A lot of the base is unhappy right now. And we are starting to see the president clearly respond to some of the agitating in the base. Let's bring up the next Truth Social post this morning at 5 a.m. The president was calling the late Alex Preddy an agitator, perhaps insurrectionist, and saying his stock has gone way down after that video emerged of him from 11 days before his death. Sean, just start there. 2 questions. One is, will Republicans line up behind this deal because the president truthed it? But also the president himself. Is there any way he gets cold feet on this because of the base is so unhappy?
Well, just back up a second. I busted. Now he's got a motorcade. I got home in an Uber. He hadn't left the Kennedy Center at 11:12. I didn't look at the pool report to find out what time he got home. And so he gets home. I know there was a ton of celebration because your wife just, had a movie premiere. And he's up at 5 truthing. I mean, I'm like, dude, I double snooze today, and the president of the United States is up at 5 already going at it. So that's I guess the question at hand is what on the shutdown? I think he recognizes
number one, there's a lot of Republicans upset on the Hill. Will they get in line? But number 2, what about the pressure he's feeling from the base? Is there does he
look, I think a lot of it, most of the base will go with him. Steve Bannon has really talked about what's going on and sort of this overall capitulation on ice. That here we are backing away from restoring law and order and something the president went on. And there's some truth to that. Look, I think ultimately 90%, this is not where I thought it'd go. Lindsey Graham, I did not have that on my bingo card. And again, you said parochial, and that's true, but it's personal. He's objecting to the fact that he's not going to get paid out because his cell phone records were looked at. Now, first of all, as a guy that got dragged through Mueller and spent I'm all for what Lindsey's doing, except maybe you could be a little less selfish and care about everybody else but yourself. He literally is going to shut down a bill that will fund the government because of him, not because the idea. There's 160 people that got swept up in that. There are thousands that got swept up in Mueller. So, I appreciate Lindsey's concern, but it's a little late and very personal about himself and no one else. I didn't see that.
I was going to say, just in case people were not aware, Lindsey Graham objected to moving to take this procedural vote to avert this shutdown last night. He did so because the bill would not allow certain Senate Republicans to get payouts because they want these payouts from the DOJ because they took their phone records as part of the 2020 January 6th investigation. So he wants that in there, and this came up at the last minute, delayed anything. Okay, continue, Sean. So that's your Lindsey Graham.
It was House Republicans who were horrified and said that's going out of there.
Correct.
It would be taxpayer money, right?
Right. No, because again, you could sue. And my whole point is, so let me get this straight. Crazy. No one cared about this taking care of everybody until a bunch of senators got ensnarled in it. And my point is, I'm all for it, just to be clear on the record. But it's a bit selfish to just say, just as long as I get taken care of, 160 people, including just me and my Senate buddies, and screw everyone else. The House was right to be outraged. So selfish of how this went down. Again, this was not the issue I saw taking this thing down. But the other thing is just from a narrative standpoint. So there's the policy and the politics, right? The idea, Chuck Schumer came out last night and had the gumption to say, this is on Republicans now. And I'm like, not really, but he's definitely got a message to go. He could say, we had a deal. It was this Republican Senator Lindsey Graham that blew it up. Lindsey has screwed this up for everybody. I did not like the deal. I'm not happy about it. I think we should have screwed it. I've told you where I stand on this. But at the end of the day, the idea that we are literally saying, how can we message this worse? How can we make our party look worse? 100% unbelievable.
Dan, you think this is the forest for the trees. Can you explain why you don't think Lindsey Graham is the issue here?
Yeah, look, it's a joke, and he's going to fold. Lindsey's a total phony. He always does this stuff. But because to Sean's point, you're not going to hold up an entire immigration bill that has been dominating the headlines the entire week and literally is turning the tide on Donald Trump over a parochial issue like this. So that to me, it's just white noise. The bigger issue here is, I think, between what Trump truth this morning, the Don Lemon arrest, I do not find a coincidence. Trump is facing a revolt from his base, which is basically WTF. You backed down in Minnesota. Holman was out there saying we're focusing on criminals, basically only, right? He didn't finish the sentence, but he kept saying we're focusing on criminals. And again, illegals, if you know of a crime or have evidence, come forward. We won't arrest you. And I think he is panicking a little to throw red meat to his base. He has to gin up the outrage machine. So yesterday, if you looked at right-wing media, which I do, and I'm saying this not snarky, the Alex Preddy video has been all over the place, right? It turned the tide. It shows he's an agitator. This changes everything. Trump was silent. Why? He was negotiating a deal. And so now it's like I've come up from the deal and I'm looking around. Uh-oh. Everyone is angry. Everyone's saying I caved and I look weak, which for Trump is the ultimate insult. So my question is, does he back out of his own deal?
Well, and they've done that before, Dan. I mean, remember?
Oh, does it every time?
The House Republicans had a deal on like the continuation, the spending, and finally at the very end, we started. People like Sean Hannity were like, "Hey, there's no border wall funding in this," and he blew up his own deal. So I think that the one thing that I said this about, or at least I think I said this on the show about the Hassett deal. And I'll say it again about this deal, is that this is one of those things, the longer it stays out there, the worse it gets. Yeah. Hassett had, I think 3 weeks ago, probably would have gotten named Fed chair. The longer it stayed out, the more people could run a campaign against him, the more candidates could come in and meet and make their case. I think this is the same deal with this. The longer this takes to get a deal, the worse it's going to get, because to your point, Rachel, the base is going to start to say, wait, what are we doing? What are we agreeing to? No.
Yep. Well, and they've got 2 weeks now. 2 weeks is a long time. It's an eternity in political.
And I think where he's going to be embarrassed is the right is going to say, what did you do on sanctuary cities?
That's right.
And he's going to, this is where I could see him saying we need to kind of add a little something. I still think something gets done. It may not be the deal that's on the table today. It may iterate a little bit more, but Trump is no fool. He knows the politics are horrific for him right now. For those who didn't see it, Tom Cotton of Arkansas, conservative fireband, leaked out that his campaign did polling on this issue. It confirms what everyone else is seeing. It's terrible for Republicans right now. So, I mean, they know they have to cut this deal. The question is, Trump is going to have to go to his base and say, suck it up.
Well, I was going to say last thing very quickly, Sean, on this. By arresting Don Lemon, does it give him a little more breathing room because he threw the red meat?
I'll tell you why. Look, here's the thing. Short-term sugar high. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is not – I was very clear on this. I am disgusted by what Don Lemon did. It is beyond the pale what he did, okay? You're going to make him a martyr by what this happened. He is going to. He's already retained. Reports are that he's already retained Abby Lowell. He's going to go out there. He's going to start some defense fund, and every liberal organization is going to do this. And they're going to. I'm disgusted by it. And so here's to answer your question. It's not going to work, and I think we're going to backfire. And I think we should have the messaging in the last 2 weeks as a movement, as a party, has been horrible. And I'm so. Like, you talk about the base. I'm probably not like the most grassroots. Like, there are way more people than me that are probably a lot more pissed off. But this was a winning issue for us. The way that we've executed this has just, all around.
Well, and you cannot underestimate how Democrats' confidence is growing by the day.
Yeah,
because they feel for the first time since Trump 2.0 kind of started getting going in early 22, they feel like they've gotten him, and he's on the run. The Republicans are divided. They felt like they drew blood on healthcare. I know, bad pun, and now they've done it on immigration. And what's the common denominator? They fought him. They stood up and did not give in. And even though they kind of lost the shutdown, they won the healthcare war in that people trust us way more and not him and blame him. So you keep winning, And for Trump, who I think always knows you got to be strong, I'm curious, how does he now try to get back in the saddle of the dominant alpha?
Last thought, Sean, and then what we're going to go to.
Yeah, the last thought, because I'm watching a lot of folks in the chat, and they're like, "Oh, so you're wrong," and tell me what I'm wrong about. Yeah. Here's the deal. Here's the thing that and maybe I'm a bit too pragmatic. I talk to pollsters, I talk to the campaign folks almost every day. If we lose the House and the Senate, it's over, guys. The entire Trump agenda comes to a screeching halt. The nominees in the Senate stop. You get no one through. No one, no assistant secretary, no assistant to the secretary, no travel. I mean, so if you don't worry about the outcome, then you are not understanding the game. And that's like saying, hey, we're down 47-0 in the first quarter. Stop worrying, Sean. You know what, guys?
Well, you're a Patriots fan. 28-3 means nothing. Like, well,
I've watched that come back in person. Okay. But here's what I'll tell everybody. I was there. I saw the difference of losing the majority and what it did to the president's agenda and what they did to his people. So unless you want to go sit in a dark room for hours on end with a bunch of FBI agents quizzing you on every moment and pulling up your documents, I suggest that you quiet down in the chat, because I'm the guy who's been there and I'm telling you, I want this president to succeed. I want this president's policies to go forward, and I'm trying to help him and the team get there. So
you tell him, Sean. You tell him.
I like Sean on Little Sleep. He is feisty. I like this.
I like it too. I like it too. Okay, let's talk about. I really want to get to the IRS IOU, but first, Dan, you flagged Shapiro, his media tour, success or failure. What's on your mind here? Which one are you leaning toward?
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to some friends during the day about this, and then saw that our former colleague Mark talked about this as well, which is Shapiro has been on this huge book tour. He went on The View. He was on Bret Baier. He's been on some podcasts. I'm going to ask this question. Sean, do you have any impression of Shapiro's book tour?
I didn't know he had a book.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not kidding. I didn't know he had a book.
So look,
we talked about it, Sean.
Well,
I guess we talked about parts of it, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. I didn't realize it launched. I think when we talked about it, it was leaked.
It was a preview. You're right. Yeah.
Rachel, what's your impressions?
I don't have one either, honestly. Okay. Like, I knew it was out there, but I just.
Both of you are political animals. Both of you consume this stuff. He has broken through with nobody. Like, there's no conversation. I did watch The View. I watched Bret Baier. I've listened to some of these podcasts because I've seen them on X and I've clicked and watched the whole thing. It is almost as if he's trying not to make news. He's very packaged. It's the same stories that are already out there. The one time that somebody got him off, Jessica Tarloff on her podcast, they asked him about some broadband spending. And he said, Biden had billions for Pennsylvania and zero of it actually was kind of spent. And that kind of passed as news. But the knock on him is like, he's clearly got the substance. The question is, does he have the style for today's politics, right? Newsom's got the style. We don't know if he's going to ultimately have a substantive argument. But I'm kind of taken aback that you get this big shot where you're not going on The View every week. You're not going to be on all these shows. And you two have no idea about any of it. And I think unless that is not good if you're unknown.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Well, I don't think he's had a good book tour.
I mean, I told you guys this on our text thread the other day. I mean, I've seen him in person, like Q&A in person. The other issue I have with him is he just comes across as so arrogant. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a thing I pick up as a woman or something like that. But man, like the style is like number one, always on talking point, perfectly like coughed and, in this sort of like arrogance. And then I don't know, he's got to do some media training before 2028.
Rachel, to your point, I've said this about Kamala Harris. Like, she's just not, she doesn't come across well. She's not, I mean, like, she sounds phony and fake. Okay. To your point, like, you can't fix that. Like, there are people who walk into a room and are gregarious, backslapping, whatever. And then there are people who are not. But you can't, if that's the take, and I get a little of that. I can't say I spent as much time analyzing Shapiro, but like, he can't just fix that. People talked about that with DeSantis. Remember, it was like, he's just not, and you can't go into a media training and say, be nicer. Like, it's just,
I don't know. I feel like you can get better. Like,
yeah, but to an
extent. To an extent.
But to Sean's point, you are who you are. Like you're your authentic self, and trying to rewire someone. I think DeSantis, Sean, is a phenomenal analogy. Which is at the end, he was uncomfortable with small talk. He was uncomfortable. He's not a backslapper. Shapiro is a backslapper in the most perfect stilted way, right? You just don't get the sense he's going to go off script. So anyway, to me, it's an under the radar thing because everyone talks about Newsom and Shapiro as the two, tier one candidates. They both have huge, we've seen Achilles in the last 2 weeks with both of them. And it just, continue to watch.
Very quickly.
Dan, how tall is Shapiro? He doesn't
5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this right now.
A little taller than that.
That's not going to happen.
Are you saying a short person can't be president?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, what an awful thing to say, Sean. I'm short.
I'm 5'6". This is one of those things you get to say certain things about your own
doesn't matter.
At least some size.
Small and mighty.
I'm just telling you,
just very quickly.
Tell me who the shortest person, one last thing I'll say in this. When Mike Bloomberg ran for New York City, he is an arrogant SOB, but he's smart and as a business, and he owned what he did, right?
I was going to say he owns it.
He owns it. And that's the difference. And Rick Schneider, when he was the governor of Michigan, owned it. And that's the point that I think needs to get made about all these candidates is don't try to be what you're not, right? Say if you're if Shapiro wants to campaign as the smart technocrat that can fix problems, then do that. But admit it, own it, and be like, guys, I'm not the guy that you're gonna hang out drinking 5 beers with, but I'm the guy that you're gonna call when you have a problem. Own it.
Sean, I'm seeing 5'9" is what I'm seeing online for Shapiro. Yeah,
I think you got to be 5'10" to be president, at least.
Don't pull a DeSantis and put lifts in. Yep.
Well, I wanted to ask y'all about this James Carville piece, writing that J.V. Pritzker is the strongest candidate for 2028. And what is Carville smoking right now? But we do need to move on to our next topic.
I think we just had the entire discussion right there.
Okay. So President Trump and his sons, Don Jr. and Eric, are suing the IRS and the Treasury for at least $10 billion. This is over the leak of his tax returns during his first administration. So this is a lawsuit he's filing personally. It's in Florida. And it's sort of alleging that the IRS failed to protect, this sensitive data. It was just a reminder to folks, it was leaked by an IRS contractor who is now serving 5 years in prison. But his argument is that the IRS had a responsibility to sort of protect it. Look, this it's funny because we were just a few minutes ago talking about Lindsey Graham and wanting a payout of taxpayer money for something that the government did to him. Now we're talking about the president wanting some sort of reimbursement for, potentially legal bills, or maybe it's also,
that's more 10 billion more than legal bills.
Yes. Okay. But not a great look, Sean, for the president to be doing this, especially because his appointees are controlling this decision making, right? So if he gets this, doesn't that look kind of bad?
No, he has to sue the IRS. I mean, he has to go to court, and a court would have to. But just to be clear,
IRS could settle.
They could settle and give him some money.
So let me go back to what I said. I don't have a problem with what Lindsey Graham is doing, right? In other words, there is a system within the DOJ that if the government comes after you of false, I mean, there's some, I forgot what the provision is, but you can get reimbursed for legal fees. I mean, there are systems in our government when they come after you like that. What I have a problem with Lindsey, and that's what I want to be clear on, is that he didn't care about anybody else but himself. I think that the president wants to go through. I mean, I appreciate what I love about what Trump is doing is too many times Republicans and people on the right say, just let it go. Let it go. We need to hold these people accountable. And I get someone's in jail, but he had his tax returns leaked for political purposes and no one gives a crap. So I applaud the president for this. I think if we see more of this weaponization, and that's what it was, then make people held accountable.
If he gets say DOJ comes back and says we want to settle this, because he's doing this also with the Justice Department, right? For how they treated them, he's asking for a couple $100 million as well for a separate issue. If they come back and say you're right, we were wrong. Here's an apology. Here's some money. Does he take it, or is it just making a
So
point?
what I understand about the first one, the second one on the IRS, I don't believe any of the details are going on. On the first one, he said all that money will go to some nonprofit of some sort. So like the settlements with the media companies, he's not personally receiving any of the money. It's going to his foundation, to the library and things like that.
Gotcha. And weigh in very quickly, and then we'll move on to our winners and losers.
Yeah, I'll just say 2 people are pointing out Marco Rubio's 5'9", so short people might end up being president one day. Look, this is, to me, it's just one of the more ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life, because I have no doubt the IRS will settle because it's his IRS. They will make him happy. And here's the thing you got to remember, MAGA. When a Democratic president gets in, Bill Clinton's tax returns somehow found their way to the right. I have no idea how that happened. All of Ken Starr's investigation in real time found its way to the Drudge Report. I have no idea how that, actually, I do, because I know the lawyer who leaked it. Newsflash, he became a Democratic donor in 2004. Shows you how the game is played, folks. If we could sue simply because we were on the receiving end of politics, the Clintons would be trillionaires. Benghazi, do you know how many people would have sued who got dragged in on a staff level? Her stuff was leaked. One of the amazing things about Trump is he is a grievance diva. Everything is woe is me. Oh, I was attacked. Oh, it's awful. Like, dude, grow a pair. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I may have a little bit more personal experience. Like when these guys start going after you and you get racked up, legal fees at 15 to and so
yeah, totally. I mean, you know how many people I know who had hundreds of thousands of bills in the 90s?
Yeah.
That today is worth millions.
Great.
Vince Foster. What do we have? The land deal that they went after him on. Yeah, exactly. Monica Lewinsky, I mean, dude, welcome to the world. I mean,
all right. Well, let's it's 9:12. So we've got I don't know, 3 to 6 minutes for our winners and losers.
Let's go.
Ooh, good call there, Dan. Let's do winners and losers. So I guess start with winners. Who's your winner this week? Who wants to start?
Oh, I'll sure. I'll do my winner this week is Chuck Schumer. Again, he's had a lot of losses. He's taken it on the chin, but at least for now, as we end this week, he got Democrats together. He got a deal that is relatively good. I know our base isn't happy either and wants more, but I give Schumer credit. He had a good week.
John?
So obviously, I think there are 2 standout obvious ones. The Trump accounts, I actually truly believe, and I've got a column in my newsletter today about why these are so transformational. So I'll save you my diatribe here. It's SeanSpicer.com to get it for free. But I do believe these will be transformational, and we'll look back in the same way that 401ks changed the landscape of finances. I obviously applaud the First Lady for her rollout yesterday, but I'm going to give Dan a hat tip. You know who this is a perfect segue. My winner this week, the Clintons.
Why the Clintons?
Why? Exactly. Why? Because last week they were on the verge of they're going to fail, they're going to do this, and suddenly it's why the Clintons? They just got buried in the news cycle under the Fed chair, tariffs, ICE, Tom Homan.
Guess what's coming to the floor of the House next week, Sean?
I just said they had a good week. I didn't say a good month. They had a good week. If this
had been more time to figure out if they're going to strike a deal.
Right, but I'm just saying, if this had been a normal slow week, we would have been on cable news every day talking about the Clintons, and they would have been going nuts about the Democrat. I mean, so they had a good week. Just to be clear.
Yep.
Okay, so I kind of had 2. One I'm not going to do because I know my audience and my audience would hate it, including Sean. But I have to give props to Ilhan Omar when that guy tried to attack her at her press conference this week. Did you guys see the video? She lunged at him and tried to punch him. Oh my gosh, she tried to punch him. Anyway, right, okay. I just thought that she's not my winner, but I did think about it. But then
I just got to say, do you remember? I'll leave it at this. What were we talking about the night before that happened?
I don't remember.
all the money that her winery, the millions that her winery.
Totally. I totally get it.
Suddenly,
I'm just saying, like, her reaction to actually go at an attacker instead of retreating, I thought was
please. I'm going
to
put a pin in this.
My winner. Don't freak out, Sean.
No. But I'm just saying on a subject, like, there's a lot on the right about how she. Anyway, I for the sake of the show, I'm going to stop right there and just say I have a lot more to say on that one.
I was going to say the president has suggested
is not saying that this was complete. Anyway.
The president has suggested the whole thing was staged. Definitely have seen the chatter online. But until I see evidence of that, I'm going to assume it's not true. But the winner is Susan Collins because she got that ice surge out of Maine. Okay, right? We talked about this on the show a couple days ago. Yeah. Could she use this to try to help herself politically? You guys were both firmly of the opinion that it would hurt her. Clearly, she is too, because she worked behind the scenes and got these guys to draw down. So she's my winner. Okay, loser.
Boy, by the way, I am so curious. I'm sure there's going to be polling soon. If that ultimately helps her or the whole issue itself hurt her. The fact that they did show up and they went. And by the way, Janet Mills launching TV ads this weekend in Maine. Sean, they'll be running during the Super Bowl when a lot of New England will be watching. What is her focus? ICE. Tells you what she might see in her data.
But now Susan Collins can say, I took care of business.
Oh, of course. I'll be curious.
Just to be clear, the upside for Janet Mills is she's got to get through a tough primary, so she might not even.
Of course. That's why I say I'm really curious. I honestly don't know the answer or what I think. Don't know what I think on that. My loser of the week is Donald Trump. And I said it earlier. He has had a very rough week. Immigration, he is going to have to try to hold his party together to get a deal through that his base doesn't like. And we, talked about the other headlines that have been out there. I've said at times he's had great weeks, great months. He had a great, stretch, but this to me was not his best week.
I remember just the confines of when the week starts and ends. I think Saturday was a bad night, like just in terms of the Preddy stuff. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the week, the way that the White House addressed and turned around the PR piece of the sending home and out. So for those reasons, I disagree with that. Obviously, I'm going to start off by saying that Bill Belichick, the Hall of Fame, had a bad week. That was an embarrassment what they did to Bill Belichick. But I have a tie, politically speaking. The Virginia taxpayers are about to get completely screwed by a moderate. And I think we're all going to pay through the nose. Uber, delivery fees, everything's going to get taxed by this, by Virginia. But I think it almost gets edged out by Indiana Senate Republicans. They didn't give Trump the win we needed on redistricting, and he has followed up and primaried, I think, every single one of them. He has announced primary endorsements against every one of those Senate leaders that defied him, and I'm glad to see it.
Okay.
My loser is Lindsey Graham for another reason. I know we talked already a lot about him, not just because his move last night was selfish, but because it was also desperate. Look, we've known what this deal looks like from the House for a long time, for days now. So if he wanted to raise this issue, he could have raised it a while ago. And he chose to wait to the last minute to storm into Thune's office and throw a little hissy fit because he wants some attention from President Trump. And of course, I agree with you, Dan. You said it earlier. I think he's going to fold in a couple of hours. He's going to get a call from the president who says, Lindsey, I love you. Please vote for this. And
Lindsey, you're going to play from the ladies' tees going forward.
There, that's the voice. I can't do the voice. Okay, what are we watching?
I am watching Iran. There seems to be more and more inclination or data that something is about to happen. The Israeli cabinet is gathering. There are reports that Israel is letting it be known that something is imminent. Our Middle East allies seem to be panicking that they too believe something is imminent. We always talking about how crazy it is. We may start February attacking Iran again.
We'll see.
And by the way, the last time we attacked Iran, we were told that it was the most successful thing ever, obliterated everything. And, a couple months later, we're going back.
Well, again, but we went after one nuclear target. Now it's a question of whether or not we're going to help make the regime fall.
Maybe. There are reports we may be hitting more than just that.
Oh, I think we will. We'll take out a lot more. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You think it'll happen? You don't think it'll happen, Sean, or do you?
I feel like this is on a razor's edge. It depends on the day. As I said, it's not that I think he's ready to pull the trigger, but as I told you, when you go in and do these briefings, it's what's next. And until you can assure him, and not just him, but the Israelis and others are like, hey, maybe today's not a good day to pull that trigger. I think that's if he can be satisfied that that U.S. targets are going to be prevented from getting struck by Iran, which I think would be tough. And secondly, that the fallout will be limited in terms of regime change, which I don't know how you do that. Then I do think that's what's preventing it. And as soon as that gets crossed, I think that we will see a strike.
I think the challenge is the Israelis don't necessarily want to hit the regime. The Israelis want to hit the ballistic missiles and the nuclear weapon sites. The thing is, can you go attack that and leave the regime? Because now you're back to where you were after the last one, which Sean, we talked about entirely. But
Dan, I think that's I think you're right. That's where that may be the middle ground, which is what if we just hit these sites, minimal collateral damage, we can secure our facilities and our personnel in the region. And so we just go in and we're very surgical like we did last time, but on a greater scale. I actually think that's where I'd put more of my money.
Right. But then it goes to what we talked about before, and we're still talking about the regime still sitting there.
Right.
So, I mean, this is the whole thing when everyone declared Iran a massive success, the attacks the first time. My initial reaction then, and still is it's to be determined. We honestly don't know.
Sean, what are you watching?
Okay. This is very inside baseball, but there is an event, an annual event called the Alfalfa Dinner. It's the White Tails Dinner. It's the least offensive of the dinners in DC, I would argue. The White House Correspondents' Dinner being the worst. And then if you move to the left, the Alfalfa Dinner, I would argue, is the least offensive dinner, but it's definitely the most elitist kind of swampy dinner that exists. President Trump, I believe, will go for the first time this weekend. I do think it'll be interesting to see. I'll just
not the first time, right? It just the first time since he's been president. Didn't he go a while?
Oh, he might have gone as a civilian.
And they insulted him like to his face or something.
No, that was the White House.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
2012.
Yeah. He may. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's attended an Alfalfa Dinner, but he definitely didn't do one as president.
Right. Definitely.
But I will tell you that, and I'll leave it at this. I would keep an eye on the other attendees at a very high level. That's my cue. High level other attendees.
Will you be there?
No.
Saturday? No. Okay.
100%. No way.
All right.
Are we thinking this is going to be a public spat, as in like?
I don't think it'll be a. I think there. I would just say this. There are interactions that people are used to seeing. This would not be one of them.
Huh.
So Trump and Biden are going to be at the table together talking about how they love the world and how the kids, grandkids. Who are you again? Do I recognize you?
I'll just say this, Dan. You're slightly warm, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. All right. We got to wait and see. No names. Yeah. No names.
Okay. All right. What was the question again? What am I watching? Oh, I was doing.
She's watching the Alfalfa Dinner. Let's be honest. That's what she's doing.
I'm very curious, and I don't like it that Sean knows something that I don't. Like, this is very upsetting.
Get used to
it. You like surprises, Rachel, or are you
about like gossip? Surprise? That is. So anyway, I will try.
No one even asked me about my quarter zip. I mean, don't you like? I mean, isn't this nice? I now I've sewn on like labels. I've been up every night doing crochet and knitting and got my Huddle logo.
There you go. Yeah. Very good. We all need one of those. Can you crochet one for us, by the way? That would be great.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say the contempt thing next week is gonna blow up at some point because the president will weigh in, and I'm curious. We've talked about this before, so let's just go to questions because I don't have a great answer of what I'm watching. Okay, so here we go from X, Curious Observer. Do other countries still think of Trump's tariffs as strategic, or are they primarily pissed off at Trump continuously doling out tariffs, especially when there are new trade frameworks in place? I certainly don't love them. Let's just say that. Understatement of the century. Who wants to take that one?
I think they believe they're strategic, but they also understand that he puts them on and takes them off at the drop of a whim. And I think they see a playbook now about, he often doesn't want to go through with them. And, do you try to give him something to let him claim victory to win, but not really ultimately do anything? And I think this is the circular game they all keep playing.
I largely agree with that. I mean, look, I think the other countries understand that he is going to use these things as a tool. But I think it gets, I've got to imagine if you're a foreign leader, you just saw like over tonight, the president is enacting tariffs on, I think it's Bombardier jets out of Canada because they're tariffing our Gulf streams. And again, why isn't that? I mean, if you think about it at its core, like if you're going to tell us that our Gulfstream jets from America get tariffed coming into Canada, why wouldn't we tariff Bombardier jets coming in?
Well, hold on. I mean, just first off, I love the fact there's a tiff over private jets. Amazing. But two, the allegation is that Gulfstream, which is owned by General Dynamics, a U.S. company, has a new jet, a G8. It is the big fancy, Sean.
That's the one I'm getting.
I don't know if that's what the family's upgrading to now, or you want to see how it performs before you commit.
I'm going to just do a lease, Stan.
Okay. But for those who are in the market for a G8, when a new plane is developed, it has to be certified. The FAA has certified it recently. The European version of the FAA has certified it, but the Canadian Transportation Authority is dragging their feet certifying it. And the belief is the reason they're doing that is Gulfstream's biggest competitor is Bombardier out of Canada, and that they're trying to help a domestic company that receives lots of financial supports. So Trump turns around and says, we'll tariff you if you don't knock it off. And, again, he's using it as a tool.
Right. And by the way, my kudos to Dan for pronouncing it right. Bumps, I see in the chat. I apologize for my butchering of the company name.
Oh, I thought it was intentional, like the way Trump will say, like, I don't know her name, or like, mispronounce it, Kamala, or Kamala or whatever. I thought you were trolling them. Okay.
No, I actually think I get that one wrong too. I find whatever. But
yeah, is she white? Is she black? Is she with Okay.
She's Indian.
Next
All
one.
Right. What else we got?
Some sort of, oh boy. Do you think that there might be some sort of push towards reforming immigration policy for those who can't see the screen? I think in 2028, people will talk about it. I just don't see the politics of this right now. I don't see either side trusting the other. Republicans would think we're going to really open the border, and we're going to think that Stephen Miller is sitting in those shadows laughing.
So here's the reason I love Monica's question is I've been making this case for a while that Republicans have to understand that what you do by executive order can be undone by executive order. And there are things that we have fought for a while that we need to codify in law. And immigration reform is probably at the forefront of this. So there's a lot done in the big, beautiful bill in terms of funding and some other things for a lot of the immigration type agencies, et cetera. But we need to, there's a lot of talk about visa reform, H-1B visa in particular. Sarah Gonzalez of the Blaze has done some great work exposing some stuff. And my only point is, if we don't take these issues head on, when Democrats get, if they ever get another house, which eventually they will, one, they won't work with Republicans on some of these issues, or we're going to have to compromise to something that's ridiculous. Or two, they'll go in the other direction, which is what I ultimately think they'll do. So Republicans have better realized that they have a guaranteed, 8 months legislatively to get some stuff done. And they might want to think about locking in some of these wins.
Agreed.
My mic is back. Sorry. Thank you, Dan, for taking over for a few minutes. My mic went out.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. We have another question. Let's see. Affordability is the #1 topic in my family text chain, from meat prices to craft supplies at Hobby Lobby being expensive. Do Trump advisors understand the optics when he sues our government for $10 billion? Ooh.
That's a great, I hadn't thought of it through that.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting angle. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
Sean's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think Benjamin McCarthy. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it probably, to state the obvious, does not help Trump. I mean, it's like a lot of this stuff. Again, we just went through a historic week. What do we really not talk about? Kind of bread and butter at home. And now we're, going into a weekend, and we talked about Lindsey Graham looking selfish, and we kind of all laughed about the Amazon, throwing money at Melania. You do wonder at what point the average person says, and Trump has always been able to be high numbers on, does he understand me? Can I relate to him? Even though he's a billionaire and hangs out at Mar-a-Lago, perhaps little things like this start to chip away at that.
The question, though, is do Democrats make this connection? Because it's a good question. And I don't think like Dan, you just made it, but
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't heard anybody in leadership being like, oh, this guy's suing the government for $10 billion a year, taxpayer dollars, and yet you can't afford bacon or,
Well, they talk about crypto. They talk about the Trump, all these other things. But you're right. Perhaps this needs to be worked into the messaging of, look at what Trump in office. They got family business dealings. They're suing people, kind of shaking them down. And it's all about them. And I know Sean will say it's the library, it's nonprofits, but the greater Trump good versus the average person's good.
Well, look, I think to Benjamin's question, perception is reality, and especially in politics. And so it's a great question to think about, because my whole point on the Trump accounts in particular is this was a great thing. The president talks, and he talked in his cabinet meeting about bringing down prices. Part of the job of president is being cheerleader and going out there and talking about these things. When he spoke in Iowa, as I said to you guys afterwards, I'm like, that speech should have been given like every day since whatever the day that the big, beautiful bill passed. Everyone should be talking about it. I thought the event that Treasury put together the other day was fantastic, but it shouldn't be a one-off. Like these guys got to be selling. It's and like just hoping that people recognize stuff is not how it works anymore. And I talked about this with the Virginia elections, like putting up 1,000 points or 2,000 points on broadcast television and saying, okay, everyone knows, is just not how it works anymore. So I think the administration has a lot of positive things to be talking about, but if they don't define that, the Democrats will. And I think whether it's how Benjamin frames it in this question or in some of the way that Dan did, but if I were the administration, I would tell everyone, here's what we're talking about, these 10 issues. You need 5 events, 5 things. You do 2 podcast interviews, 3 events. We have more ways than ever to do things in a much easier way. You can sit at your desk and do video, interviews and town halls or teletown halls, but they've got to understand they've got to be selling.
And that's, Sean, you talked about this because the chat giving you a hard time about Republicans. If you go back to the 2024 campaign and like, let's say these Trump accounts with Nicki Minaj there, right? Who penetrates and has an audience that's not watching Fox News, right? It is a unique audience. The Trump people would have had like a 24-hour barrage to work that into the common culture, to use different channels, to really pound in. He's doing something for your children. It's apolitical, that everyone's going to benefit. I totally agree. Like the best thing Democrats could have said if it was 2024 is, amen, we're going to keep that program, right? Like that's, get out. That's it. Tip your hat. I don't know how many people even knew it happened.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are at time. Although I have to say, there's a question in the chat that made me laugh earlier in the show. It was, how important is a scoop, Rachel? And is it like birthing a child? Birthing a child is way harder than landing a scoop. So I will just put that right there. But, funny way to end the show there. So we will be back on Monday at 8:30. Oh, Sean, did you have something you wanted to flag for this?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I mentioned the column today at seanspicer.com. Thanks to everyone who's bought Trump 2.0. I appreciate the Amazon sale. It's been awesome. And then I'll just say tonight, the Drinking Bros, if you've never watched their show, they're a really irreverent, fun group. They've got a podcast, but they were completely debanked because of their views. And so we're going to talk to them tonight. My friends at Old Glory Bank have been helping them out. So it's kind of a nice collab. So we'll have them on today to talk about this. I'll give you my Melania reviews. And if you are interested, I posted all that on social media so you can feel like you walked the red carpet yourself.
There you go. All right, guys, we will see you back Monday, bright and early.
Have a great weekend.
What a week.